So this was producer Annalisa's idea, where we discuss and debate unpopular opinions that you feel so strongly about you'd be willing to die on a hill over them. Like make your last stand on this unpopular opinion, LSAT related or non-LSAT related. Do you have any, Ben, that you would like to propose?
Oh, I keep forgetting to like add them.
That's okay.
Um,
We have a few
well, I
here if
think
you
I'll
want to.
come up with some as you say them.
Well, I don't think they need to be many of them. I think we can do just like one. But
Okay.
in the non-LSAT realm, one of the first things I thought of was that video games are good for kids and make kids smarter. And I believe this because of my own personal experience
Mm-hmm.
with, like my folks had we had a Commodore 64, Ben. Did you ever have a Commodore 64?
No.
It was like old school PC, and nobody knew how to use them. And it was like, it wasn't actually useful for anything around the house. I mean, I think my parents like tried to do their banking or like balance their checkbook or something like that using
Yeah.
some software, but it was always like super clunky to use, and it just does it. Actually, I remember it did have like an amortization schedule. Now of course you just go on the internet and there's any number of tools if you want to do finance stuff like that, but there wasn't back in the day. But anyway, the person who used it the most was 10-year-old me by far. And what I used it for was video games. And the fact that I had to just learn how to use the computer so that I could play the games, one, and two, the games themselves, you solve immense numbers of puzzles in these games. Now, I'm not trying to say that like every single game is good for kids. And I
Sure.
don't think, Ben, you probably don't like want your kids playing hours and hours of Fortnite or Call of Duty or
Yeah.
whatever, like
Yeah. Yeah.
sort of mindless run around and shoot stuff. But I totally believe that puzzle-ish games are just so good for making kids figure shit out. And one of the reasons why I've always been good at, like, I developed the idea that I could figure out anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do attribute games to that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to die on the hill that
Hmm.
most or many video games, the right video games are good for kids, and you should like actually encourage your kids. Like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, your kids have Switches, right?
Yeah, they love that game. It's
They
insane
love,
how
well,
big that world is.
it's this immense open world with like challenges and puzzles everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like they want to get to the next thing, and so they're going to have to figure out the next thing, and that is giving them an education in a way that school is not.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it too much, but I think you're right. I also think about Minecraft and when they make all these worlds, and they even in Fortnite the other day, my third was making this whole wall around all the other players and trying to keep them in. And then they're talking about it in the car and like, oh, well, if they start shooting this, they can break down these things, but they can't break down these other things, and that's how I'm keeping them in. And I'm like, is going on? So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
so that's my parenting advice from someone who does not have children. But I'm glad that, Ben, you're willing to vouch for my idea that video games make kids smarter.
Well, I'd add to that too. Just the other day, well, Maria was playing backgammon. Have you played that recently?
Hell yeah. Backgammon's another one. That backgammon was like my family game.
Yeah.
We would be like camping and stuff, and we would just play like hours and hours and hours of backgammon. But I started like kicking the shit out of my dad and all his friends at backgammon when I was 12,
Yeah.
and that game is a really good strategic game, a game of which risks are you going to take, and There's a little bit of mathiness to it, you know,
Yeah.
figuring out how you're going
Yeah.
to use the two independent moves of the two dice. And then
Yeah.
Maria playing it with, was she using the doubling cube?
No, that's the one part we need to like start. We just kind of started. It's like we've ignored that, but yeah.
The doubling cube is awesome because it's basically a challenge to the other player, right? So you start
Hmm.
off playing for a dime, and
Yeah.
then one of the players controls the doubling cube. You're playing for a dime, and then when you think you have the advantage, you can pass the doubling cube to the other player, and they have a choice at that point. They can accept the double, in which case they just turn the doubling cube over. So now instead of
Hmm.
a dime, you're playing for two dimes. Or they can sacrifice the game and just pay off your dime.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're really getting your ass kicked, you probably should just surrender and
Yeah.
pay and start a new game. But if you have like it's something like, I think it's basically a 1/3 chance, right? If you have a 1/3 chance of winning, you
Hmm.
should accept the double. So
Hmm.
with the doubling cube, it's like this assessment of how good is your position or how bad is your position,
Yeah.
and should you continue for higher stakes or not.
No, that's good to know. We'll start doing that. I was thinking about this because when you were saying video games make kids smarter, well, the same kid who was boxing people in Fortnite really likes playing backgammon. Is like, we taught him the rules and like he's like, okay, let's play. And I'm like, uh, this is a good thing, right? Like he's having fun, but it's making him think. So then I went out and bought chess. Hasn't arrived yet, but I was thinking,
Ooh.
I mean, maybe that's too much and they won't get into it, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna have a bunch of games and get them thinking.
Have you watched the Queen's Gambit yet?
No, I started.
Terrific. Terrific. I watched it all in one sitting. I just totally love it. I've played a little bit of chess. I'm terrible at it, but um, it's yeah, chess is great. But backgammon is it's similar in that it is a game of perfect information. It's all just
Hmm.
out there on the table, right? There's nothing hidden in chess, nothing hidden in backgammon.
Yeah.
Um, Backgammon has a lot more luck,
Hmm.
and a lot of times it's just a dice rolling competition, but that's where the
Yeah.
doubling cube comes in too, because it's like, sometimes if it's really close you have to roll it all the way out, but if you're just pounding the other person, then the doubling cube kind of forces you to just quit and start over.
Yeah.
um,
Cool.
Gambit is an excellent show, everyone should watch it. And yeah, board games obviously are also good for kids, including backgammon and chess. Okay.